everybody. Welcome to the first Fountain Centre podcast. For our first podcast, we are going to be discussing unlocking lockdown. We will be joined by Andrew Parsons, who is one of our volunteer coaches at the Fountain Centre. He has been a coach for 12 years and has been with us for 6. We'll also be joined by Eileen Goldsack, who is our Cancer Support Services Lead at the Fountain Centre. Eileen is also a coach and has been a healthcare professional for over 30 years.
Thank you, Maria. So, a few things coming up recently, Andrew, and one of the first ones is probably one of the main ones is that as we're emerging from this lockdown, which we've kind of got used to, that a lot of people are feeling even more fearful and less safe than they have done. They've kind of got used to that safety that was there, and now it's a bit scary because it's changing and it's all move again. So
I think a lot of us feel like that at the moment, and it's not surprising really, is it? I guess because everything's changed again. And there's less certainty. There's a lot more uncertainty that people are carrying, and perhaps there's a little bit more confusion as well. Different people are doing different things. Different people are impacted in different ways. So there's lots of layers in this, isn't there?
Sure.
But I think the first thing to recognise is that it's completely normal feeling this way. Because actually we've just gone through another transition. What was now becoming normal, which is lockdown, is now ending, and we're in this sort of neutral zone, or this, and it can be a bit chaotic because we're not quite sure what's next. But the next phase beyond that is the new start again, and these things aren't linear, are they? They're kind of multi-layered. But I think if we can find ways to start thinking about what's next. And what can I do that's going to help? Then that's a really great place to be. And Maria, just going back to what might help. When I'm going through these processes, what I really try and focus on what's important to me. And others around me, and my family, and community, and just really trying to sort of get really clear about what's going to be important for me to keep on going. And as like we were saying just before we started, Maria, wasn't it? It's one foot in front of the next.
Absolutely.
It's the only way to get through these things sometimes.
Yeah, and I think it's that thing of the little things in life.
Yeah.
People say don't forget you find joy in small things, and a lot about COVID is, I think, it's one of the good things about COVID is maybe it's made people appreciate little things. But then now there's this fear is probably overtaken all of you're forgetting about all the lovely things that have happened. It's time with family and the fact a slower pace of life, really.
Yeah. Well, and as humans, we notice what we lose sometimes more than what we have.
Yeah.
And it's a real practice to just keep on focusing on what's good in my life at the moment, or what's okay, what's enough, what do I appreciate. Those small things can be so powerful, can't they? But we sometimes don't see them. And the other thing that really came to me there, Maria, as well, when you were talking, was actually, I think, sometimes it's really important to recover rather than do.
Yeah.
And if you talk to all the athletes and things, they have a real structured recovery time, so they're not just doing stuff all the time. And I think that's so important in the lockdown phase. If people are working, or they're managing themselves, they're shielding themselves. It feels like work sometimes, I would imagine. How do I take a break off from that and have a holiday? Within what I've got. Recovery is so important, and we forget about that as well sometimes.
So for me, what's coming through, Andrew, it's sort of very much echo everything you said. Normalizing things, trying to break things down, keep things as simple as possible. I think the more for me, maybe, I know not everybody can probably do this or do it, but trying to come into the present moment as much as we possibly can, which is the here and now, if we can, and sort of think about what can I do now and what's going on now, and where that's probably where your power will be.
Yeah. Because
we have no idea what's going to happen down the line, and it could change tomorrow. The more we look after ourselves and sort of build that up, the more we might be able to just cope with the unknown, the uncertainty, the lack of control. which everyone has, some obviously suffering more than others, you know, different circumstances. But yeah, it just that allowing yourself to have a bit of self sort of compassion, that this is very difficult, that this is very hard, and looking after yourself as best you can.
From our point of view, we're maybe a bit of a crutch for a lot of our patients, where they go to for the support and the looking after, and obviously we've had to stop our services, and so our patients don't have that lovely place to come to. You know, when they come for if they're coming for chemo, they can't come and wait in the Fountain Centre. So it's like they're whizzed in up for their chemo and they're back out again. There's no like in between. There's no Fountain Centre. I always think of it as that's where they breathe out. So for me, it's probably like they're just breathing in the whole time. Just get your treatment and go back out again. So it's a whole different way and process for them. So that must be a bit scary, I imagine.
Yeah, and maybe people not having, if you're living alone, you don't have someone to go home. Because I think Andrew and I spoke earlier about being able to release emotions as they come, and that's a really powerful and healthy thing to do. And that's sometimes harder when you're, as you say, you don't have your normal routes to do that.
Yeah.
But it still needs, it's really good for them to come up and to come out and to talk to people about how you feel, and to kind of let it kind of pass through you so that it doesn't. And I think Andrew said something that really struck, like going back to like okay rather than, you know, it's okay to be okay, redefining what okay is. And I think it's creating a different mindset sometimes and looking at it slightly differently. And some days I think we'll be able to do that. Yeah. And other days we'll be tired and perhaps more frustrated, and it'll be harder. And therefore it's just riding the ups and the downs.
Do you know, there's one thing that really struck me, you know, with Colonel Tom and all the stuff he was doing for the NHS. You know, and I think I've got this right, but isn't it tomorrow could be a better day?
Mm.
You know, and just latching onto that, it can be really powerful as you get that next foot down.
Yeah.
And Maria, you talk about breathing. Breathing is, you know, it's really important for us, isn't it? But we don't pay attention to doing it, and just taking a minute just to count your breaths even.
Count your breath. Feel your feet on the ground. Sit out in the garden and listen to the birds. I just think connecting in that moment can just help our mind settle a bit, so that we can think a little bit, so that we can have, that's our control, that's our power. They're in there, it's inside us to have that. And we have to you have to kind of maybe prompt yourself to do that.
Yeah, and I think for us, Eileen, so this week at the Fountain Centre, well, in the whole hospital now, everyone has to wear masks, for example.
Yeah.
And that's a big, so all the time you have to wear your mask. And it's a big change for us.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, I could speak for myself, but I know a lot of people felt it. There was a lot of anxiety around having this mask on the whole time. And and I know the doctors and nurses in ICU, bless them, God love them, have been having the full caboodle. But I was like, ugh. And but you're right. And for us, how we got through that was we had to find a time where we take them off and just breathe and let it all, you know, and you're absolutely right. It's releasing. Yeah, Eileen, releasing.
Just releasing, coming back into your breath, into your body. Mm-hmm. I guess, Andrew, what I was probably trying to say was it's about, you know, just coming back into our bodies.
Yeah, noticing.
That's what the breath, and just noticing what's going on. And I'm feeling frustration, and that allows you just to process it naturally and normally, and realize it's okay and feel okay with it.
Feel okay. Noticing so important. No, take notice, be active, learn, connect. You know, with friends, family, with people, and give. You know, giving time to people at the moment. You know, it's a wonderful thing for them, but also for yourself.
Yes, I think that can help you cope. Yeah.
But you know, I always think about how do I get 1 of my 5 a day.
Yeah.
You know, or you know, get all my 5 a day. Just those things can just give you a different perspective on the thing. But you know, coming back into the moment and connecting and noticing.
And being aware that this is what's happening and that it's okay. but that you, in that moment, you do have the choice about how you're going to react, because that is a choice that you still have. And that's hard. And that's why don't judge yourself or get hard on yourself. But as you build that up, that awareness and that, even letting that compassion, you'll start behaving. It's a bit like you're saying, you can change that. And the reality is you need to focus, a bit like what Andrew said, if we focus on what we can do and what's in our power to change, then that's where the meaning is, isn't it? Yeah. We can't change what's going to be on the next news bulletin, what our neighbour does at a barbecue, as frustrating and as angry as we might feel. But we can change our thoughts and how we're going to manage them, and what we can then do ourselves to respond to the challenges.
Yeah, I love the word intention around these times. You know, and it's different to a goal, because you know, we think of goals being really specific. And it's this, and it's smart, and it's measurable, and that. But intentions give us a direction. And sometimes that's enough, you know. And
that gives us our purpose and our meaning. That allows us, as you said, to think tomorrow is another day. We do need hope, you know. As human beings, we always have to have our reason, don't we? And it can probably feel a bit at the moment like, what is the point? So it's coming back to finding a way to see that there's still that. And intention's a really good one then, isn't it? What's your intention for the day?
What's your intention for today?
So when
just
you go
for today.
Just for today, just for now, even. Just what's your intention now? And that just brings it back to, you have to kind of stop and ask yourself, right, okay, check in.
There's still a life to be lived at the end of the day, isn't there? There's still a life to be lived.
Absolutely. And there are, like we said earlier, there are lots of positives, and we don't always see them, and that's okay. But, you know, we've got to keep thinking. We are evolving all the time. Even our own emotional states are evolving. The other thing, Andrew, that was coming up, and it all ties into the same thing, was managing other people's sort of expectations. Because there's an element of our patients are now maybe emerging into a world where, you know, we're supposed to be 2 meters and everybody's this. And actually, sometimes when our patients go out, they're not seeing that. And I think it can be a trigger for them, because it can lead to them feeling frustrated around the fact that they've done everything they can to stay safe, and they felt safe. And now they go out into the world and they don't feel it, because other people aren't. It feels to them like they're not getting the message.
It's difficult, isn't it? You can't control other people.
Now, this might be, you can't. So when you see people, like 100 people on the beach, and you've been locked up it's hard, isn't it? So you can't control other people.
Can't control other people. You can try and influence them, and that's about the best you can do, I think, sometimes. Because
that's the reality. Then being careful where your energy goes. You're not, who's helping who, and is it a benefit?
Whom?
And is it helping you?
You know, if you can't influence them easily, well, you're not going to be able to. And do you want to spend that energy? Isn't it better bringing it home, and you know, and
what's the benefit in it for you doing that? Because it's just going to be more frustration, maybe, and more sort of angst.
Well, and also I think, you know, trying to think about, well, you know, how can I make this better for me right now? You know, what can I do that's going to make this better for me? And you know, and it might be, you know, sometimes, you know, just changing your patterns or your behaviors or whatever. But for me, I know when, you know, for me, this is just my personal experience, that gives me something I can do then.
It's giving you back a wee bit of control that
you know, and then I've got a bit of power in the dynamic.
You're going back down the right way, because if you start going down that trajectory that everybody's just doesn't care, and I have to jump out of the way when I'm walking or whatever, you end up with, it's all bad, you know. And then you lose the moment, and you lose. It's hard, isn't it?
But there'll always be somebody that's not following the rules. Everything in life, there'll always be somebody, and this is no different, I guess.
Well, and I think there's sometimes they're about setting expectations for people. But when we're out and about, 'cause people are walking and they may not notice and things. But there's something there about relationships, and you know, it's always difficult to say no sometimes. So you know, I think it's a different way of saying, not right now or no. But, trying to bring that language into your diction as well, I think can be helpful sometimes as well.
Yeah.
It's all about, managing your energy and I think we spoke about, recovery.
Yeah.
It's well, where do I want to put my energy that's useful for me right now?
Yeah.
And it's hard, and it's okay to be hard.
Okay, yeah. But seeing it like that, and then reframing it too, like we said earlier, sort of reframing it and coming in, like you say, how can I make it work for me, or what's positive in it for me, or how can I change to get to my goal, or see it differently. Because sometimes when we're in a certain state of mind, it's very hard to switch.
Yeah. Maybe
a different way of thinking, and maybe if nothing else, this is what's taught us all, that we're all having to think differently, and it's tiring and it's hard.
It takes energy, doesn't it?
It takes a lot of energy, and so like you call it recovery, I kind of call it self-care. Yeah. What are you doing every day to recharge your battery? How are you sleeping? Are you managing to exercise? What is it that gives you your joy? Can you still find those moments, like Maria was saying? There's still moments of joy to be had, but they're all are kind of nourishing.
Yeah, get one of your 5 a day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My moment of joy was when Boris said I could have a bottle of Prosecco in the garden with friends. I was delighted. that was my moment. My main moment of joy during COVID.
Andrew, was there anything else coming up for you about this whole lockdown, coming out of it?
I think we covered a lot of it, actually. I think it's just acknowledging where we are. It is what it is, and and I think the people say now lean into it.
Yeah, really. Yeah, that's kind of our release, or our
go with it, embrace it, because it is what it is. And how can I find something that's going to be useful right now?
Yeah,
and try and keep that intention for the future.
Yeah.
But explore it. I think there's something about being aware of what's going on within me.
Yeah.
Setting that attention, but not being fixed to it. Because if it ain't working, change it.
And keep checking in. Is this working? This seems like a good idea this morning. Maybe it's not now or today. It's that flexibility.
Flexibility. Well, Bruce Lee always used to say, "The strongest trees bend."
Yeah.
Or like that.
It's a bit like when you think you've released enough, release again.
Talked to one of my colleagues about this the other day, actually, about that, strong trees bend, and she said she grew up in Singapore, and what she noticed with the bamboo, when the typhoons or the bad storms hit, they were getting battered, left to right, but the next day they'd be there again.
Our ability
just want to be bamboo, really.
Bamboo.
Not bamboozled.
Not bamboozled. There's not bamboozling going on at the moment. So that's it, our first Fountain Centre podcast. We do hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or concerns about anything that was discussed in this podcast, please get in touch with us. If you have anything that you'd like us to cover in the future, please also get in touch. We've lots of professionals at the Fountain Centre, and we'd love to help with your questions or concerns. We'll see you next time, and remember, it's okay to have your head in the clouds as long as your feet are firmly on the ground.